Life may give you lemons, but be sure to make lemonades and lemon juices out of it. After all, lemon juice can be very beneficial to the body, helps to cleanse your system. So look at things on the bright side every single time things do not go well, because that way you would have the best approach to life even after failure. And to bring it to the roots, life go whine you, but no panic, because this is the story of my educational journey, and that is what I will be sharing today. In an African home, it's simple. You're giving birth to your parents, take care of you. It's time to start school. From secondary school, you're meant to gain admission into the university, at the very least have a BSc, so that way you know that you have a bright future in Nigeria. That is the standard, right? And I was no different from every other person in that regard. I grew up in a home where education was priority, and my mindset was that way. I knew that I had to go to school to succeed. I knew that I had to, my life literally had an order. It had the way that it was meant to go. So it was like a ladder that I needed to climb. From primary school, you go to secondary school. From secondary school, you go to the university. From university, you do your NYSC. From NYSC, you get a job and you continue in that race. And that was what I wanted for myself. That was what my family wanted. That was what the society expected of me as well. But the journey to get into where I am now was a very long and coarse one. The life that I live now, even though it's not entirely my end point, I mean, my end point is still very much far away, but this life that I am living now was only just a dream at some point in my life, because the challenges that came with gaining admission into the university were things that I did not expect at all, especially since I wasn't the dullest in my class. And I'll start also with saying this. I wasn't the brightest in my class. I remember in the class of 86 pupils, I was always 18th, 19th position. And this was when I was just rounding up my primary school. I can still remember. And I was always excited. I mean, I was 18th position, meaning I was doing a lot better than others. And so I'm saying this to say that I wasn't the brightest. I also wasn't the dullest. I was just somewhere in between. And for a long time, I was very comfortable with that. When I finished primary school and moved into secondary school, it was a new secondary school. So we were like we were like 4 or 5 in the class. I can't really remember. I was like the first set for the secondary school. And I remember being second. I was so excited. My dad reminded me very quickly, out of how many again? Well, it's good to just say I was second position. You don't need to know how many people were in class. It was just the thrill of being second. Now that I think about it, why was I not the first? Because there was that opportunity. Do you get? But anyways, before I talk about the admission story, I also want to talk about how I was able to get my O-levels result, because that was a journey on its own. Maybe not a very hectic journey, but it also wasn't what I planned. So in SS2, my dad made me write, is it GCE? Yeah. So I wrote GCE just in preparation. For WAEC, so that I already would be familiar with what to expect when I write my WAEC in SS3. So in SS2, I wrote my GCE. The results came out. They were average, but I didn't pass my mathematics. I had E8 in math. It wasn't an F. I consoled myself with that. It wasn't actually an F. It was just an E. E was not enough, because the criteria was that you need to have a C for you to gain admission into the university. That's part of the prerequisite. You need to pass your maths and English together. I passed English. I was doing okay in English. It was mathematics that was the problem. So what I got told was focus on maths, put a lot of effort into making sure that you pass maths the next year, which was when I was going to be in SS3. And with all of that, I should be fine. Now I was able to see my weak point, which was mathematics. I've always known that I'm not an exceptional student in maths. Maths was my most dreaded subject in school. Till now, I'm not entirely great at maths. I try to avoid it. So during WAEC, I focused on studying mathematics a lot more. I usually would get tired of studying. My sister, on the other hand, can go all night, and I'm not even joking. She can go all night studying. And I found myself putting a lot of pressure on myself to try to learn maths because it was so important that I did. And I was so angry. Why does that have to be a major thing? Like, why does math have to be something that would be a deciding factor for me? Why couldn't it have been commerce? Because I was very good at commerce, economics. Oh God, I loved that. That's why I was in commercial class anyways. But I didn't like math. And it was just so sad that that thing that you didn't like was very important for you to move on to the next phase. So I was like, you know what? Might as well. And then I put in all the effort to try and clear my maths. And I was able to write my WAEC. The results came out, and your guess might not be as good as mine. I didn't actually pass my mathematics again the second time. And what I had in my maths was D7. It was progression, right? From E8 to D7. That was okay, but it wasn't enough. The minimum was that you need to have a C, at least a C6. I was so heartbroken. I was so sad because I thought that I would have to write it again the next year. That's 1 year of my life wasted when I already had a plan. Remember, I had a plan. Finish secondary school at 16, gain admission at 16, 17, finish with my university at 21, NYSC 22, get a job and get married 23, 24 and start my life. That was the blueprint of my life. That was what I thought. That was exactly how I had pictured my future to be. Maybe get a job in the bank, or maybe get a job in a big organization, an oil company, and just start my life from there. But my life took a different turn. Thankfully, my parents were able to enroll me again for the second GCE. Now, this would then be the third time I'm writing the O-levels exam, because I had written it initially in SS2. That's the GCE. I didn't pass it. Then I wrote the WAEC in SS3. It wasn't okay. And then I had to rewrite the GCE again. To cut the long story short, I had a C6 in math. Can you imagine? Just from E8 to D7 to C6, I was fine with it. Honestly, I was. The minimum criteria was C6 and I had just that and I was fine. My English was still okay. The other subjects, so I still had my, I think, 6 credits in total. That was fine. And I then decided to start the admission journey. Now, I wrote JAMB the first time. When I wrote my JAMB, the results came out. I had 219. Yes, I remember I had 219 in my first JAMB. I knew that it wasn't all that great, but it was okay. And I felt like, okay, if I write my post-JAMB and I have a very high score, by the time they get the aggregate, I should be fine. So I thought, because the first thing I did, I won't call it the first mistake. The first thing was that I chose a very renowned university. Everyone does. It's either UI, Unilag, LASU, UNN. You know, those were the it schools that everyone wanted to go to. And I was no different. Like I said, I wanted to go where the whole crowd was going. I wanted to study what the whole crowd was studying. I wanted to impress. And that's why I wanted to study accounting at the time. For someone who didn't like mathematics, what a very interesting course to choose. Yeah, I wanted to study accounting at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, majorly because it was a very good school. Everyone wanted to go to UNN. And again, the second and very important reason was that my dad was a lion. So he finished from the prestigious University of Nigeria, Nsukka. My dad is such a role model to me. He's someone who is very eloquent. He talks well. He speaks well. He's very intelligent and knowledgeable. My dad, oh God. He's an amazing man. And I just wanted to go to the same university, walk the same path that he walked, wanted to study the same, no, not the same thing. My dad studied something totally different. But yeah, I wanted to go to the same school with my dad because he had spoken so highly of the school, coupled with the fact that it was one of the top ranking universities in Nigeria at the time. Not just at the time. Even right now, it's a very, very great school. And if you do have the opportunity to go to the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, by all means do. So I wrote my post-JAMB. The post-JAMB results came out. So by the time they did the aggregate, it was roughly 219.5. And I wanted to study accounting. It was a very competitive course. Oh my goodness, I'm in a hurry to go to work and I just wanted to make this video today, so I might rush a lot of things. Maybe make a part 2, I don't know. Let's see what I can do before I leave. So I literally have like 5 minutes before leaving here, but let's see. Again, to cut the very long and maybe boring story to you short, admission that year was a no. I didn't gain admission into the university that year. I felt so sad. I felt so angry. I felt like my whole life had been delayed by 1 year. I felt like I wanted to get married at 24, 23, 24. That would have to move because gaining admission has delayed by 1 year. So every other thing has been delayed in my life by 1 year. I was so sad, so frustrated, so angry. There was also the part of I am my younger sister. My younger sister and I, the difference was just 1 year. So when I was in SS3, she was in SS2. So as I had missed my own opportunity to gain admission that year, I was going to have to write JAMB with my sister or go through that process with my sister. And truthfully, I didn't feel so bad about it. I felt like I had a partner. There was maybe that part that felt like, I should have, I'm the elder sister. I need to lead by example. I need to always be at the top. I need to be the one to show example in different ways. But I was happy also the fact that we had to study together, but she was doing something totally different from me. So she was a science student, I was a commercial student. She wanted to study something different. Then we got to enroll for a private lesson at La Prince. I remember La Prince. I made a lot of friends. They're friends that are still my friends till now. And it was a beautiful experience. I was shuffling that with also working because I even started working before I finished secondary school, if I'm going to be very honest. I got one teaching job just as I was finishing my secondary school. So I was doing that and also going to lesson. So I'll go to lesson in the morning, come back, go to the house where I was privately tutoring the children, and that's how my life was. And I was preparing for JAMB the next year. I wrote JAMB the next year. I and my friends, we already had clique. I already had my friends. I had Brima, I had Anu, I had Boturayo. These were my girls. I'll look for old pictures and see if I can put it here. We had such a nice time. So we wrote JAMB. The result came out. Guess who had 250 in JAMB? I had 250 in JAMB and I was so excited. I think I was one of the highest at the time. Some people had more than that, but 250 in JAMB, I was very proud of myself. Like, I can't even lie. I thought that was it. I was like, there's no way I'm not getting admission with this score. And again, I chose University of Nigeria the second time for the same course as well. I wrote my post-JAMB. I can't really remember what I had, maybe 240 something. But at the end of the day, I kept waiting for the list, waiting for my name to come out on the list. My name didn't come out. I didn't gain admission again. And that was when I was very heartbroken. Like, many things came to my mind. I was like, I can't live in this house anymore. I can't go to my church anymore. I can't, because everyone that finished secondary school goes to the university, they celebrate them. How can I still be here the second time? I was so sad. At some point, I was telling my parents, I want to go to the village. Like, I just want to be away. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want anybody to still keep asking me, because the environment I grew up in, they will ask you questions. Ada, you never gained admission. Ada. Oh God, I was so angry about it. Coupled with the fact that that was the year most of my friends gained admission into university. And then that spirit of comparison would begin to set in. And that alone can steal your joy and make you feel very little about yourself. If I had done better, I would have gained admission. But I did my best. Well, I didn't gain admission. Other people did. That was the year most of my friends gained admission. They started their HND. Some of them gained admission into the university for their BSc. And it just felt like I was utterly alone. I felt really sad. I felt really heartbroken. I felt like the whole world was against me. 250 JAMB, that was okay. That was okay to get me admission. But I got to find out that it was the course and the school that I went to. If I had maybe picked a lesser school, I would have gained admission. Those were the things that I got told at the time. And best believe that when it was time to write JAMB the third time, I was very, 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 very nonchalant about it. Like, what more? I still went to lesson. I was still trying my best, but you know how they say law of diminishing marginal returns or utility? I can't remember. You know, when you're very hot and you take a bottle of Coke and you drink it, you know that satisfaction you get from it. If you then take a second bottle almost immediately, you will still like the taste, but it's not like that first time. That was how I felt. And then if you drink maybe the third, fourth, fifth bottle of Coke, at that point, you're not enjoying it. You're probably just doing it because you just want to. And that was exactly how I felt with writing JAMB the third time. I'm like, I don't want to regular customer dadani. I remember when I was even meant to go write the exam, I told my cousin, the first two times my mom would always follow me. I told my mom, don't worry, we'll run it. I went on my own, did it, came out. My results that year was the lowest. I had 211. Remember my first year, I had 219. The second year, I had 250. The third year, I had 211. And I was like, low baton. If I couldn't gain admission with 219, with 250, is it 211? At some point, I was like, it's over. What am I meant to? If I had known that there was another way to gain admission without JAMB, best believe that that's what I would have done the first time I didn't gain admission, but I ended up not wasting. I ended up spending 2-3 years before actually securing admission into the university. I'm in a hurry to go to work right now. I just needed to make this video, but I will talk more about this story in my next video, hopefully. So see you guys later. Bye.